Unmute. I think it was a good presentation. Thank you, Everest. Not surprisingly, most of the predictions are similar to what we would predict from a Hackett point of view, because it is the same topics and the same environment. I guess the differences are sort of in the weighting and ranking of these topics. So I'll just add a few points to the very good platform that was given to us. I mean, cybersecurity ranks high on anybody's list. Interestingly, 5 or 10 years ago on research pieces, it wasn't on there. So we've all sort of woken up to that. In terms of GBS, we had 3/4 of GBS actually report a risk issue in the last 24 months. So basically, everybody has experienced this. They just don't advertise it. It's not something we want to do. The technology piece, which we are all discussing here as probably the #1 topic, I would like to add a perspective to that, because we're all on this digital transformation journey, undoubtedly. But the effectiveness of some of these projects is not that great. So even before COVID, if we looked at different types of technologies and whether they fulfilled expectations of people and organizations who implemented them, with the exception of best of breed point solutions, which worked well, everything else had between 30 and 44% of companies that reported that it fell short of expectations. So that's not a very good result, actually. And of course, it could be the expectations that are to blame. It could be the technology to blame, and it could be the implementation to blame. And most probably it's a combination thereof. But in our experience, it's not mainly the technology. There's so much good technology out there. It's more the other two. And during the COVID phase, we looked at different technology and automation projects and the results thereof. And of course, we all know these results from Zoom and Teams implementations done over a weekend for 50,000 people, and they all work fantastically. So no question, that's all great. However, all the other automation projects, we got only 12% effectiveness rating on that. So there are still a lot of good things done, and people are investing in these things heavily, but there's too many that don't actually deliver what they should deliver for a lot of money invested. So I don't see the results that positive as maybe some others. And technology and talent are two sides of the same coin. And the only weighting difference that I would see to the Everest presentation is that we do see talent weighted significantly higher in relevance, and it doesn't drop anywhere in 2021 either. And there might be differences by region, for example. So as an example, if you look at what happened during the pandemic on a simple topic like hiring, and if you would look at India, then you had a hiring freeze, basically 100%. If you would look at Central Eastern Europe, then you had, for example, in Poland, 65% continued as planned. In Czechia, 92% continued as planned with hiring and onboarding. So hardly any impact. So depending on where you are, you might have a very different view and think that that's how everybody did it, but it actually is very different by sector and by region. And we all know that this re and upskilling topic is key, which was mentioned many times. So that was a good discussion. Just read the research a week ago that said that if you look at the global re and upskilling percentages, then in 2019, it was 14% of all organizations, all workforce was upskilled. And in 2020, it's estimated to be 38%. So it's a huge increase. So maybe the pressure is slightly less, or is felt by some to be slightly less, because they've actually now invested into this re and upskilling, which is great, because we've been sort of, hammering on this topic for a while now. But it's still a big issue sort of across the organizations, because what we see is that there's always these small groups, for example, in COEs, in GBS, like COEs, experts that we put into small groups of 5, 20, 30 people. Those are not the main problem. The main problem are the big masses in the organization that we need to take along with us. And some of them are still converting from emails to WhatsApp, right? So they're far behind. And we've got in the future organizations, not just 2 or 3 generations, but sometimes 4 generations working next to each other. So the challenges are enormous. So I think the talent issue is still going to be and maybe not number one, but still a very relevant topic to most. And then just last comment, I think the operating model discussion, which probably we cover more tomorrow, but of course is a key topic. Most of our clients and most of the research we do comes up with the result that people actually don't know exactly how the operating model will look. They're still working on it. They might know the components that they need to look at and maybe the direction that it's going to. So clearly more remote work, we know that that is one of the outcomes. But if you ask 10 companies, one will tell you they want to go back to how it was before, and one will tell you we want to skip, we want to get rid of all of our office space, and everybody else is somewhere in between. So what that ends up being is quite difficult to estimate currently. But what it does do is that we get more flexibility into these models for sure. So in terms of, for example, location discussions, that's a really interesting one. What is a location in the future? I mean, what's it supposed to do, and what's the purpose of having one in any case? Is it a city? Is it a country? What's it for? And we already see that a lot of clients are starting to recruit not just based on a city or a area around the city, but actually even nationwide, countrywide, or in the European Union. Of course, you can do this with some extra work even across the European Union. So that's probably the biggest change that's coming. And I think the positive comments from the Everest presentation I'll share. We also think that there's a lot of growth coming, because the main finding from the pandemic was that basically everything can be done remotely. And therefore, even for areas and functions that previously were not sort of good candidates for GBS or outsourcing discussions, they can all be done now. So just to give you an example,
Tom, sorry, I think, yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, just supply chain management, for example, currently is at 19% coverage, and is estimated to triple in the next 3 years in terms of coverage. And that's a huge amount of FTE. So if you take just one topic like that, you can see that the growth percentage that were shown previously are probably quite realistic. Yeah.